because it's been so long, I honestly could not for the life of me remember all the dramas that I dropped or did not finish or anything like that.
Oh, I was the exact opposite. I had no issue because the ones that made the list for tonight, they haunt me, Leia. They absolutely haunt me. And so remembering them came very easy.
I mean, I could tell your notes were like a novel.
Yeah, they keep me up at night. These, I'll be sleeping and bam, I'll remember the ending of Chains of Hearts and go, why?
Hi guys, I'm Lael,
And I'm Courtney.
and welcome to our new All the Drama podcast, where two best friends talk about
Korean,
Japanese,
Thai.
and Chinese dramas. So sit back and listen while we rant and ramble about the scenes that made us cry, laugh, and squeal with excitement.
Now, girl, tell me all the drama.
I. So, which brings us to our first drama, which is Unforgotten Night. A little bit of an overview is Kim is an office worker. He has a one-sided love with this guy. He decides to try to forget him and move on. So he spends one night with this random guy he met at the bar. Um, Turns out this random guy is a 30-year-old mafia, and this office worker met all his sexual needs, and so he just decides to pursue him relentlessly.
Yeah, he isn't just a mafia, by the way. He is the supposed to be the head of the mafia, okay? And I personally I had serious high hopes for the series. I was first introduced to this couple in a series called Love Syndrome as one of the side couples. Now, everything about this couple in that series, I loved. I was hooked. And so when I found out that they were coming out with their own series, I was super excited. Um, Even when I found out that there were going to be different actors portraying these characters, I was a bit bummed because I really did like the portrayal that we got of them in Love Syndrome. But I still was super excited because the story sounded interesting. I, and even if they had different people, how could it go wrong? It did. It really, really did. Um, Unfortunately, not only did my high hopes crash and burned, they imploded like a nuclear bomb. And I've been
I
pretty
just
salty ever since.
I just want to also say that I think this came out after Kid and Porsche, right? So
It was like around the same exact time.
I
And
think
so
they were
we had,
trying
it
to
was
ride
like
the coattails.
they were. I remember that because that was one of the things I came to you about and was like, this is
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Why did they do this? Because we had just finished Ken and Porsche when
Which
we
is
got this,
amazing.
which was phenomenal. Absolutely recommend that if you haven't seen that already. One of the best dramas out there. Um,
18 plus though.
but absolutely. And that's how this was sold. This was sold as another spicy Ken and Porsche type of mafia thing. That's how this was sold, okay? We didn't get that. Don't sell me on something and then give me the D-cut version. It is offensive, okay? Um, Girl, this is one of my picks because this is one of the ones that keep me up at night. Uh, with everything that was wrong with the series, and I mean everything was wrong with this series. From casting to acting to the severe lack of chemistry, even to the fucking makeup. Girl, the makeup they threw on these men. Who's First off, let me start here. Kamal is supposed to be this larger than life, intimidating badass. He is the head of the mafia. He's also supposed to be, because I read the book. I got hooked on Love Syndrome, so I read the book. I know all about what these two characters are supposed to be. And he is portrayed, and this was sold as the head of the mafia, baddest of badasses. Men fear this man. Like he intimidates when he walks into a room, everyone knows it because everyone is fearful of this man. That is who Kamal is supposed to be. That is not what they gave us, okay? That is not what they gave us. No, no. What we got instead was a baby faced small dude with a frozen face that can't move or make any real expressions due to what looks to be a little bit too much Botox, my friend. Uh, he's supposed to be intimidating, and they have this scene where he walks in, and it's this. These men are quaking at a 4'4" baby faced man. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm sorry. He just, nothing against the actor, except maybe take some acting classes, please, and facial. Stop with your face, man. Stop with the Botox. But besides that, nothing personal. He wasn't made for this role. You don't, it would be placing like, are you going to tell me that Nunu's a badass mafia? No. Okay, no. You can't put a babyface actor, and maybe I'm wrong. Show me. I would love for you to prove it. But it's not Kamal. It's just not, it doesn't fit. There's nothing that fits with this guy whatsoever. Um, and
And this goes for the supposedly intense BDSM scenes that we get as well. So I'm gonna start off by saying like I I didn't watch this because of what she said to me. Listen, she saved me honestly from wasting my time. Because you know what this girl did to me? She calls me up and she's like, "You need to watch this scene." I was like, "All right." She's like, "No context, just watch this scene."
I gave you the timestamp and everything, and I didn't say anything to you.
Nothing. She's like, and I watched it, and it's the scene. I don't if you know if you guys haven't watched it. It's a scene where they're in a very BDSM type of scene, and I
The
I don't
face.
even know.
My dude, listen, I'm
Somebody
not saying
somebody looked at that camera and was like, "Yeah, this is the action shot we're gonna go with." I had to
he
laugh
was
at that
making
scene.
this.
I was dying.
Maybe we can find it and make it a post or something because this face, it
I think it's
ruined
too
it.
rated
Like,
R.
I thought the scene, yeah, probably. I thought the scene was atrocious to begin with. I mean, again, we're seeing these serious scenes where he's toting around and it just looks comical, and they're in bed and they're supposedly having this intense like chains and whips type of BDSM. Like, the whole point of this is Kamal is so intense that no one spends more than one night with him. And then we get like a Chucky doll making this face when he's whipping him. And I don't know what they did or told. Like, the acting in this is just atrocious. Like, what did you tell him to think of? Did you tell him to act like you're taking a poop? Because that's what it looked like. He looked like he was taking a poop. And then kind of smiling in between it, which was just weird and uncomfy. Okay? It was not sexy. It was not BDSM. It was Chucky with a
Oop.
poop.
Look,
It
I'm
was a
sorry. It
dark
was
haired Chucky with a poop.
I hate to say it because I don't like to comment on like appearances per se, but like it was ugly. It was just an ugly scene, honestly. You know, this series has a 7 point or was it a 6.7 rating on my drama list.
Hmm.
I don't know how.
I was so shocked by the rating that most of these actually have on my drama list, but this one especially. And not only that, I remember calling you and like losing my shit over
You did.
so many comments online about stating how phenomenal this series is. And I'm like,
Yeah.
did we watch the same thing? What the heck?
I was actually going to watch this one before you called me because I saw the comments,
Hmm. Oh, I
And then when
know.
you called me, I was like, I guess not. I can't do it
And
anymore. That
mind
scene
you,
just ruined it.
I didn't plant anything in your head. I
Just that
literally just
scene.
said, just watch this. And you and I were able to see the same thing. So I
Yep.
don't know if these are like 12 or 13-year-olds who
They shouldn't
just
be watching it.
that shouldn't be watching it exactly. But what we got was, it was not BDSM. It wasn't even good acting. It wasn't good sex. It wasn't anything. Um I personally wouldn't rate this above a 3, and I feel like that is honestly being generous. And the 3 points solely go to the actor who played Kim. I actually thought that he got the raw end of the deal because he was the only one who could decently act. and like literally the only one. How many there's at least five main like there's the two main characters and a couple side characters. Out of the 5-10 people that we see come across our screen in this, he's literally the only one that can act decently. Uh and I feel bad for the dude, so I give him those 3 points are for you, my friend.
I can tell this one definitely keeps you up at night. You went hard.
It does. That face haunts me in my dreams. I'll be sleeping and it'll all come all this. It's not Chucky anymore that haunts me. It's him. That's who haunts
Stop.
me.
On to a lighter drama. That was my pick. And some of y'all may hate me for this one. But one that I dropped was Meteor Garden, the Chinese version that came out in 2018.
And just for a quick synopsis of this, um, and in case anyone hasn't watched it, it's about an ordinary girl who's admitted to the most prestigious school in the country, where she encounters F4, an inclusive group comprised of the four wealthiest and most handsome boys in the school. And no shocker, she gets bullied. And
And
if you haven't seen it, you can stream it on Netflix, but I sure as hell don't recommend this one.
well, it's not so much that I don't recommend it. If this is one of your first ones that you're watching, honestly, it's not a bad drama. Like the F4 and the whole Boys Over Flowers, Hana Yori Dango versions were crazy popular back in the day. Like, I mean, 2009 back in the day. And I watched the Korean and Japanese version. I know you have thoughts on it. Um, and mind you, back then, I was what? A 13-year-old girl.
They were good for then.
They were good for that mindset. When I was in that mindset to watch this, do I appreciate, this? Yes. But I am probably no longer in the mindset to watch a high school bully drama and then watch her fall in love with the bully and him be kind of shit because he doesn't really know how to regulate his feelings. I'm kind of out of the age range, even though I wanted to watch it because I had seen the Korean, I'd seen the Japanese, I'd seen the, I think, Taiwanese version. So all those back when I was like 13. And, if this is your age group, this is probably a good one to watch. I mean, I do recommend it's a classic story. Honestly, it's so popular, and you may not agree with everything that goes on with it, which is fine. I get it. Bullying, the acceptance of bullying and things like that is kind of a toxic mindset. But
But see, I kind of disagree because I do remember watching. I've never liked Meteor Garden. I also, FYI, I dropped this one. This is one of the ones I
I
couldn't
got tired of
finish.
it.
But I remember Boys Over Flowers. I watched that one and I remember liking it. Can I go back now and watch it? No.
No, same.
But they just released a new version of this called F4. I think it's
The
just called
Thailand
F4.
version, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I've only seen shorts of it on YouTube, but already I can tell that they have something with that, with the cast, with modernizing it the way they did. Still the same
Yeah.
story, still the same presence, still the, cringeworthy bullying scenes. But it, let me tell you, if you haven't seen it, it is definitely on my list to watch. It sure looks like it's going to be the best out of this series.
Yeah, and I think it's because they did change things to meet the modern times. I mean, we have to remember this wasn't originally a Japanese manga that came out in the 90s. So it was a
Exactly.
different
And
time
we
back then. I
don't
hate to say it like that.
No, but it's the truth. I understand that. I could never get and remember I remember watching Boys Over Flowers when I first started watching
Mm-hmm.
dramas, and I did like it at the time. I get that. They're time capsules of, of
Your
the
13-year-old feeling self.
yeah.
Imagine you're going to fall in love with a hot guy at your new school and then get bullied, and then the sweet bullying character ends up falling for you and you're special. Yeah, I know. I get it.
Yeah, and those wigs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like I think that was like so the Media Garden 2018, I want to hear why you dropped it, but I know for me I couldn't get past Pineapple Head. And then in Boys Over Flowers, I couldn't get past the horrendous wigs that everyone seemed to be wearing at that time.
Thank God you never watched the Japanese version because you would have hated
No,
it.
I can't. I don't know what it was about the early 2000s for Japanese and Korean dramas, but it's like the faker the wig, the better they thought it was. I'm so glad
I
we
love
didn't
that.
stay in that.
Yeah, their
Like,
humor is just
it's
a little bit
cool to use
different.
real hair sometimes, or like wigs that cost more than $2 at the Dollar General store, or Korea's version of the Dollar General store.
If you all can't tell, she hates wigs or bad
Hey,
wigs.
listen, I am behind a good wig any day. But when you put a handsome man in a horse wig and say action, because that's the scene, I just don't understand. I don't. And what they did to Pineapple Man, I he didn't even have a wig. They just did that. They did that layout, and they said, you know what? That's the look of a badass. I highly disagree.
And it's so funny because I love the girl that plays in it.
I do too.
The guy is not a bad actor. Like he's actually really cute
No,
outside of
I've
this.
seen
But
him in other things, and I like it. And they had if I remember correctly, I even liked them together because I felt like a type of like chemistry. If I remember, it's been a minute,
yeah,
but I
no, I think
liked
they
them
did.
together. I couldn't finish watching because he had a pineapple for a head. His hairstyle, what? It's not even a style, you know? And I literally had to drop this because, first of all, it was very cringe, even for its time, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Very cringe. But on top of that, I couldn't get past. You're trying to tell me there's this romantic moment, and I can't get past the little sprinkles in his
Spikes.
hair. Like, I, I couldn't do it. It ruined the whole thing for me. You know,
I love
it
how we
did.
just talked about how you can't ever really drop a drama, but the spikes on his head dropped it
It
for
made
you.
me drop the drama. This is one of the rare ones where I was like, I cannot continue with this. It made me mad. I
I
was
get it.
getting I was getting madder and madder. But do you remember why you dropped this drama?
I think, like I said, I just wasn't in the right mindset. It was a high
Mm,
school drama. I was kind of at the end of college. The bullying was stupid. The cringing parts were stupid. I just couldn't get past the, I don't know, the childness of it all. Like, don't get me
I
wrong.
feel
Like,
you.
some of the high school dramas that I still do watch still have that, but it's not as, I want to say cringe maybe as this one. And I don't know.
There's
Like,
a lot of cringe with it. And I think that's why I've been hesitating to even watch the newest one, even
yeah.
though the YouTube shorts I've seen make it look really good. I don't I
Like,
just
I can't even rewatch the Japanese and Korean version anymore. Like, it's just, I have seen
it's
better
just
now, you know?
yeah, you know what? Yeah, better storylines, better plot lines. It was good for my 14, 15-year-old self.
Yeah.
Not so much
I just didn't
anymore.
connect with the characters anymore, really. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
They just didn't make it.
Um,
Which is really funny because like I watched a different like Chinese drama that had high schoolers. It was I think
mm,
it was a Love So Beautiful and I didn't have any problem with it. I just for this one just did not give me what I needed anymore.
I've watched several dramas where they're in high school. It's the bullying, like the crazy, cringy bullying scenes, and her chasing after her man who also bullies her. I think that's what it is for me. You know, I love a toxic man, but not
Stop.
I'm not chasing after my bully. I mean, I did when I was in middle
Stop.
school
Shut up.
maybe, but
So yeah, so that one was one that I kind of just dropped. I just didn't get into it. I didn't want to get into it. It's not a bad drama if you like that Boys Over Flowers F4 type of thing. If you want to watch it for nostalgia, go right ahead. So that was my pick. So the next pick that we have that we both of us dropped, I think, right? Did you drop this one?
I dropped it and I warned you away from it.
No,
Cuz you were did you
I was
start it?
currently watching it. Yeah, I was currently
Oh,
watching when you told me you dropped it because you went farther than I did, and
I think I
I
made
couldn't
you
get
drop
past.
it.
I think maybe I
Yeah.
couldn't get past like episode like I think 3 or 4.
It
But
got pretty bad pretty fast.
it did. So the next drama we're talking about is Bed Friend. It came out in 2003. Little
Nope.
synopsis is
Came out in
oh sorry
2023.
2023. Little synopsis is Yua is a very private person who has a strong dislikes of like Casanovas, and King is one of them. And King and Yua work in the same office. They're both best friends with Jade. They don't like each other for some reason, but then they start having a relationship,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Supposedly. It was supposed to be like a friends with benefits to lovers trope. That's what it was sold. And that was what was sold to us, and that
Hmm.
was what you can tell they really did try to stick to that plot. Um but like the story, I don't even know where to begin with this one. uh they were all over the place, which is so unfortunate because uh they had such incredible main leads that had so much potential. Um there was so much hype for the series before it even aired. Everyone was super excited um because of the two main leads. They gained popularity as being side characters in another drama that was popular about a year before. Their chemistry was off the charts in this series, and their visual aspects were they were hot, and they were hot together.
They did have very good visuals together.
They
I will say
did.
that.
They absolutely did, and they knew how to work off each other. So they were sexy together, and so everyone was super excited for this series, only for it to end up being a really big flop. So much so that I actually have a feeling, and this is just my personal opinion, but I believe this series and the tragedy of it is why James, the actor who played Yua, decided to back out of acting for a while and switch gears to develop his modeling career. Um, and it's a damn shame because these two absolutely did have chemistry. The chemistry, the acting between them was not the main issue. It never was. The issue itself solely relies in the series.
Yeah, the writing and directing of it, right?
Yep, the writing and the
Mm-hmm.
directing. First off, the plot. Um, as I said, this was sold to us as a very sexy, sensual, friends with benefits to lovers type situation.
Kind of
Um,
lighthearted, right? Like not anything too crazy deep and serious,
uh,
right?
yeah, yeah, like just
Right.
that's what it was sold to us as.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we had like four or five plots within subplots within plots. It,
Yeah.
it was it was a plot within a plot within a plot within another plot, and none of those plots tied together or made any sense. There was just way too much going on. They were trying to fit in so many different ideas and storylines to make it more dramatic, and it just took away from the whole main plot, which was supposed to be the friends to lovers. But instead, we had some crazy, and I mean crazy, side plots that just, instead of bringing like the shock factor, it just made everything go off the rails, and it made the series feel very chaotic and messy. Um,
I agree because that was right there the reason why I dropped it. It They had the chemistry, they had the visuals. The What really killed it for me was the amount of trauma they gave Ua.
oh my gosh.
Every second this man was torn apart. And it was supposed to be this light-hearted friends with benefits turned to lovers type of thing. And I'm just like,
But
how
then it
much
went
more can you give
super,
him?
super dark.
It's
And that's the
super
thing too.
dark.
I get wanting to do like a maybe a darker plot line to shock us or to make it a bit more serious.
Yeah, pick
But
one
that
though.
I was gonna say, pick one. And then also on top of it, that wasn't what was in the trailer or what has been sold to us. You capitalized in all the trailers, all the, upcoming interviews. It was all about this sexy, sensual friends to lovers trope. Like, and I get if you want to make him have trust issues and have that lead into the friends with benefits plotline. I
Right.
get that, but pick one. And it was like they decided and sat down and said, let's pick the darkest of the darkest things and go from there.
Multiple
And
darkest things.
multiple over and over, and it became redundant. It was
Hmm.
another episode where you was sad again, like someone else royally fucked his life up again, and it became to the point where it felt redundant.
Right, and I'm not, and this is just my personal opinion and honesty. Like, if you meet someone and they have trauma after trauma after trauma, and you're dealing with this as a friends with benefits type thing, like,
It just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit with, like, there you're talking about two different stories.
Right,
it
like there's not enough feeling for him to be like, "Oh, suddenly I love you and I'm gonna wait through all this and help you
right,
go
especially when you're
through."
not talking to me and you don't want to tell me and open up, but somehow I'm gonna know also about all this dark stuff and come in time to save you. And like, it was a chaotic mess, over the top dramatic mess. And that was with the writing. Now let me get into directing. There's I've had issues with writing before, but I've never had such serious issues with the directing team as I did in this series. For instance, every moment where we did get some type of like where we would come back to that main plot and we would have these twos have like a sexy moment. The sexy moment was interrupted greatly because they would blast some intense music that didn't fit the scene. That just
Oh, I hate when they do that.
it just was very random and intense and loud. Everything would go in super slow motion. And these two would do some outlandish moves for visual effects. The focus wasn't on what was happening between them, it was more of how can we make it look as as artsy as possible, okay? And it took away from the scene.
Hmm.
Like there was this one moment I can't forget where they're kissing on the bed and I can't even get into it. I can't even get excited because the music is overtaking the scene. The visual, you have the visuals coming in fast and strong, different angles, and then all of a sudden you have King do this crazy move because they were kind of like on the he was kissing him from the ground and he was on the bed upside down and he did this crazy flip in the air and landed on Ua. It was just so theatrical. Like the dramatics of these scenes and the theatricalness of the scenes took away from what we were supposed to really get out of them, which was the connection. Like, yeah, I love a sexy hot scene, but what makes a sexy hot scene is the connection between the two leads. When you
Hmm.
take that away and you're just so focused on the posing and of the people and the visual aspects, it just ruined it every single time.
Yeah. I didn't get as far as you did, but I see what you mean. They were angle, 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 shot, shot, shot. It wasn't
It
just,
was rough. It was
yeah.
so rough. I think it was the bed scene. Um, it was either that or one of the other dark plots that came out of nowhere for Ua, where I finally was like, I called you up and I was like, just don't even waste your time anymore. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I was getting to that point because I was already like on episode 3 or 4 and I was just tired of it. And then you told me, like, don't even finish watching it. And I was like, all right, you didn't take that much to convince me.
Yeah, and then we're not the only ones who actually ended up feeling this way because somehow on my drama list this has a 7.7 rating, which is much higher than I anticipated due to the feedback I've seen online. People tore into this series when it was released.
Damn.
As it kept going and we were seeing all this crazy stuff going on and the chaos and the messiness of it, people were giving some serious negative reviews on it. Um, in fact, the feedback, the social media feedback was so bad that they didn't say this could be my opinion, but everyone kind of knows that they ended up pushing the release of the sequel they had lined up for a serious long time. So what they did, they expected this to be such a smashing hit that they filmed the sequel around the same time, if not shortly after they wrapped the series. So the sequel was already filmed and ready to drop. Um, and from what I understand, it was supposed to drop either when this was airing because it was about some other side characters. Like the side characters were going to have their own story,
Hmm.
with Ua and King kind of becoming the side characters in this. But so it was either supposed to drop before or after. I'm not sure if it was a prequel or a sequel. They had some plans for it, but they ended up pushing it and pushing it further and further, not ever giving clear reasons to the fans until finally they dropped. And that one was also, from what I understand, I didn't watch it, and I know that not a lot of people did. But
Oh,
from
so
what
the
I
sequel did
understand,
drop?
they did finally drop it, but
Oh, I didn't know
it
that.
was that was another one I tried to watch, and it was actually much worse.
Damn.
Yeah. And I feel bad because
Damn.
those side characters are from Cutie Pie. So do you remember the monk from Cutie Pie? The monk friend?
No! That was
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
And it was
This was gonna
worse?
yeah. This
Oh,
was gonna be their first series together where they were the main leads. And I tried so hard. The acting, and I don't know if it's because of the script or the way they're being directed to act, but it was atrocious. I couldn't.
oh, now I'm sad.
Yeah, I feel really bad. I hope because those two, I really like those two together. So I'm hoping that maybe they can stick it out and try something else. But it was bad. It was.
Mm.
I mean, at least with Ua and James, we kind of had some type of acting in there. They threw that all out the window. It's like they said, let's take the little remains that we have and just kapooey it. But I feel bad because at the end of the day, this series, I mean, this is a prime example of why it's so important to be picky with the series that you choose and the directing team you choose and the management that you choose. Because I really do think that this could potentially be a career destroyer for some of these actors,
Mm.
unfortunately. And I don't blame them at all. It's solely the scripting and the directing. But you know how it is when you see a bad movie. Not a lot of people focus on what made it bad, just who was in it.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate because again, they were pretty decent together and I think the acting was pretty from what I remember okay. So they could have really gone places with acting, I think. Um
I know a lot of fans were upset, especially with Ua leaving his partnership with James to go on to furthering his career elsewhere, where I know some of that is modeling. I don't know if he's also diving into singing, but um, James is staying in acting for the time being, and he's being partnered up with someone else. They actually have a series coming out that actually looks really good, so fingers crossed. I hope for the best for all these actors. I think they really got the raw end of the deal with this one.
and that concludes our list of dramas that we dropped or did not finish watching. Um Basically these were all a disappointment. In general, that's what they were. So much so that we either dropped them or didn't finish watching them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I couldn't agree. The ones that we started definitely are the top ones that have haunted me, and haunted my dreams ever since seeing them. So, if you do not want to be haunted, I recommend not watching these.
I love how they haunt you. I just black them out. I don't remember a single thing about them.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys are more than welcome to watch them. Obviously, this is all of our opinions as someone who's watched several dramas in her lifetime. I mean, these are pretty recent too, so
Hmm. Just our own personal thoughts and feelings. We would love to hear from you all, so please feel free to comment on our Patreon, drop those comments on Insta, on Facebook. We would love to hear more about your takes on some of the ones we mentioned tonight.
yeah, do you agree
Uh,
with us? Do you not agree with us? Let us know.
which ones haunt you? But as for this episode, this is officially a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. As we said, we want to hear from you. We love to grow this drama addicted family. That being said, Lael, what are we watching next?
So for our next episode, we are finally going to review The Sign. I think we waited long enough. We still have no idea when the special episode is coming out. All we know that it was released, I think, April 6th in Thailand, but no other word has come out of it to let us know when it might be available for us international fans. So we're just gonna review The Sign without the special episode. We might end up making an Instagram reel or post or something about it later. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, but nothing we really can do about. And I definitely don't want to put off talking about the series anymore because it's one I think we both can be really excited talking about. So until next time, happy
Happy drama
drama
watching.
watching.
Bye.
Bye.